Dad, why won't you talk to me anymore? A single question from 8-year-old Liam shatters the silence in the Reed penthouse and sets into motion a test born from grief, suspicion, and love. Alexander Reed, a brilliant tech mogul still mourning the wife he lost, suspects his glamorous fiancée, Vanessa, isn't who she claims to be. Her smiles don't reach her eyes. Her warmth cools when no one's watching. And worst of all, she treats Liam like a burden, not a boy. When Alexander overhears Vanessa whispering on the phone, "Once we marry, everything will finally be mine," something inside him breaks. That night, in a silence thick with memory and doubt, he makes a decision that will change everything. He will pretend to lose his voice. Diagnosed with psychogenic mutism after a staged collapse, Alexander watches from within his silence, observing Vanessa's shifting mask, her performative concern, her subtle cruelty toward Liam, her impatience with grief. But even in silence, the father sees. And when a gentle stranger named Mara Tyder walks through the penthouse doors to help care for Liam, Alexander feels something shift, not just in the room, but in the spirit of his home. He begins to record everything. What he's about to uncover isn't just deception. It's a spiritual darkness far more dangerous than he imagined. Before we go on, subscribe to the channel. Trust me, you don't want to miss where this story goes. When he fakes mutism, he uncovers a secret more twisted than betrayal. Now let's dive right into the story. Mara Tyder arrived just after sunrise, a canvas bag slung over her shoulder, and a kind of gentleness that seemed to hush the chaos. The penthouse, all glass and gleam, felt colder than she expected. But when Liam opened the door with his one hand and uncertain eyes, her smile softened something in him. "Hi there," she said, kneeling to meet him eye level. "You must be Liam." He nodded slowly. Then, shyly, "Do you like Legos?" "Love them," she grinned, "especially the ones that come with extra dragons." Alexander watched from the hallway, silently. His heart tugged, not just at Mara's warmth, but at how Liam tilted toward her like a flower to light. It had been months since he'd seen that look in his son's eyes. Vanessa's heels clacked against marble. Her smile was tight, the kind that looked more like a smirk. "So you're the new help." Mara rose calmly. "I'm here for Liam." Vanessa's gaze flicked over her, youthful skin, modest but graceful posture, that annoying natural beauty. "We'll see how long that lasts," she muttered, too low for Mara to hear, but not low enough for Alexander to miss. By midday, Mara had learned Liam's rhythm, how he liked his cereal warm, how zippers frustrated him, how he hesitated before asking for help. She didn't rush him. She didn't pity him either. She simply made space. "Can I carry the tray?" Liam asked after lunch. "Sure," she said, removing the glass and adding a folded towel to steady it. "You've got this." Alexander, seated at the kitchen island, pretended to scroll on his tablet, but his eyes stayed on them, on Mara's patience, on Liam's courage blooming, on the tension in Vanessa's jaw as she watched it all. That evening, Vanessa stood at the mirror, layering on lipstick like armor. "She's trying too hard," she said, more to herself than Alexander, acting all holy and humble. "It's a performance." He blinked slowly, offering no reply. "She's just here to impress you. Or maybe him," she added, glancing toward Liam's room. "Some people know how to play the long game." Alexander took his notebook from the drawer, black leather, pages already stained with silence. He wrote, Vanessa's tone jealous, dismissive of Mara, harsh about Liam. 10:17 p.m. The next day, the shift was sharper. Vanessa sighed loudly when Liam spilled water. "You're slowing us down again," she muttered, snatching the towel from Mara's hand before she could help. Liam's face flushed red. He turned away. Mara crouched beside him. You okay, buddy? He nodded, eyes down, but his little hand reached for hers under the table. Alexander clenched his jaw, his heart aching in the silence he'd chosen. That night, as Mara packed up her things, Vanessa stepped into the hallway, arms folded, voice low and venom-laced. You don't belong here. Mara didn't flinch. She met Vanessa's eyes with quiet strength. Maybe not, but God brought me here anyway. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. From the shadows of the study, Alexander closed his notebook. His hand trembled, not from fear, from clarity. The silence in the Reed penthouse wasn't peaceful anymore. It was sharp, like glass on edge. Vanessa moved through the rooms with clipped movements, her heels like hammers on the hardwood. Liam felt it. Mara felt it. And Alexander, watching from his quiet corner, felt it in his bones. Liam sat at the counter, his one arm struggling to balance the juice pitcher. He was trying truly. Mara had shown him how to grip the base against his side. He'd almost mastered it. But this morning, his fingers slipped. The pitcher crashed to the floor. Glass scattered. There was a heartbeat of silence. Then Vanessa's voice cracked through the air like lightning. Are you serious, Liam? She shrieked. Do you know how tired I am of cleaning up after you? Liam froze. His lower lip trembled, but he didn't cry. Alexander rose from the couch instinctively, but stopped. His throat tightened. His voice still gone. Mara was there before the echo faded. She stepped between Liam and Vanessa, arms spread slightly, not in defiance, in protection. Enough, she said, calm but firm. Vanessa's eyes burned. This is none of your business. He's a child, Mara replied, her voice steady. He made a mistake. That doesn't give you permission to wound him. You think you know everything, don't you? Vanessa spat. You and your saintly act. But you're just a hired hand. He needs love, Mara said softly, not shame. Vanessa's hand shook. She pointed at Liam, who was now crouched against the cabinet, trying to disappear. He's ruining everything. Alexander's chest ached. His hands gripped the back of the chair so tightly his knuckles turned white. He wanted to shout, to run to his son, to banish this woman from their lives, but the silence bound him like chains. Later that night, the house quieted. Liam sat cross-legged on the couch beside Mara, a blanket tucked around his small frame. Miss Mara. She looked down. Yes, sweet boy. Vanessa said I might get sent away, to a special place for kids who slow things down. Mara's breath caught. What do you mean? She said, Daddy will be happier if I go. A boarding school. Somewhere far away. I don't want to go. Mara wrapped an arm around him, pulling him close. You're not going anywhere, Liam. Not if I can help it. In the hallway, just beyond the cracked door, Alexander stood still, his hand pressed against the wall to steady himself. The notebook he carried had grown heavier over the past days, but never had a moment broken him like this. His son, already wounded by loss, now made to believe he was disposable. Alexander stepped into his office and opened the notebook with trembling hands. In bold letters, he wrote, She is not safe, and neither is Liam. Then he set the pen down and closed his eyes. God, give me strength. Let me be the father he needs, even if I have to do it in silence. The door clicked shut behind Vanessa. Liam was alone in the study, humming softly as he lined up his action figures. His little world was one of quiet battles and heroes who always won. He didn't hear her heels until it was too late. Vanessa stood over him, arms crossed. You think you're so special, she said, voice dripping acid. Everyone tiptoes around you, like you're some poor little broken thing. Liam didn't look up. His fingers trembled. You want to know the truth? She leaned in. Your mother died because she couldn't handle you. You and your endless needs. She drove that car off the road. She wanted out." The words landed like blades. Liam's head dropped. His shoulders started to shake. And then the sobs came. Deep, guttural cries no child should know. Mara burst through the door, face pale, eyes wide. "What did you say to him?" Vanessa turned unbothered. "I told him what no one else will." Mara rushed to Liam, pulling him into her arms. He wept into her shirt, and she held him like a mother would, like a mother he no longer had. "You're evil," she whispered, not to accuse, but in grief. Unseen in the hallway, Alexander stood frozen. His breath was short. His hand shook violently. Every fiber in him screamed to storm the room, to lift his son into his arms and never let go. But still silence. He leaned against the wall, the fury inside him pressing like a weight against his chest. Later that evening, Vanessa emerged from a room, her tone suddenly sugar-sweet. "We should move the wedding up," she said, sitting beside Alexander on the couch. "All this stress, it's not good for anyone." She took his hand and squeezed it, eyes calculating. "I've been thinking," she continued. "It's time we simplify our lives. Let me help take care of things. Legal decisions, school options for Liam. You can't carry all of this on your own, especially now." Alexander's face was stone. She smiled wider. "It's what your wife would have wanted, for you to move on, to trust someone who's here for you." A flicker of spiritual memory washed over him. His late wife's voice in prayer, her hands on Liam's tiny head, blessing him with verses whispered through tears. He closed his eyes. Psalm 10 verse 14 rose in his heart. "But you, God, see the trouble of the afflicted. You consider their grief and take it in hand." He had considered mutism his weakness, but maybe it had been God's shield all along. In his silence, truth had begun to speak. Vanessa kissed his cheek and rose. "Think about it. We could all be so happy." When she left, he opened his notebook. His writing was no longer hesitant. "If I reveal myself now, she'll hide the evidence. I need the truth to destroy itself." He stared at the words, then drew a box around them. "God, let her undo herself. But spare my son." Liam sat at the kitchen table, tongue sticking slightly out in concentration as he tried to button his shirt with one hand. "Almost," he muttered, fumbling again. "Hey, superhero," Mara said gently, kneeling beside him. "Want to see a trick?" He looked up. She showed him how to use a large safety pin and a looped ribbon she'd stitched into the shirt seam. "Now hook it like that, and pull." Liam gasped as the button slid into place. "You made that just for me?" Mara grinned. "Well, I figured even heroes need tools." Alexander stood at the threshold, heart heavy and full all at once. In the weeks since Mara arrived, light had returned to corners of the penthouse he thought would stay dim forever. Not from chandeliers or sunlight, from the way she listened, the way she looked at Liam like he wasn't broken. Or maybe it was the way she looked at Alexander when she thought he wasn't watching. Not with pity, but with a deep, wordless respect. Across the room, Vanessa leaned against the wall, watching too, but not with admiration, with calculation. She noticed the way Alexander's eyes followed Mara. She saw the bond growing between Liam and the maid who'd somehow become more family than anyone else in the building. That night, Vanessa clutched her diamond earrings dramatically in front of the housekeeper. "I left them right here. They're gone." The next morning, a credit card couldn't be found. A few whispered words to staff planted the seed. "Mara's always the last one in the room, isn't she?" The staff began to shift, eyes more cautious, conversations quieter when Mara entered. Alexander saw all of it, heard the whispers, watched Vanessa's smile tighten when people began to look at Mara with doubt. But he said nothing. Not yet. Instead, he sat beside the fire that evening, notebook in hand, eyes on Mara as she knelt beside Liam, helping him with the drawing. Liam's voice broke the silence. "I wish you were my mom." Mara looked up, startled. "Oh, sweet boy." She pulled him into a hug. "I'm not your mom, but I promise you this. I'm not going anywhere. God put me here for you, okay?" Behind the half-open study door, Alexander stood frozen, his heart fractured, not with pain alone, but with healing too. He hadn't realized how starved they all were for gentleness. He turned and walked away before she saw him, but his soul whispered what his lips could not. "Thank you, Lord, for sending her, even into our ruins." Later that night, Vanessa stood on the balcony, whispering into her phone. "She's too comfortable. He's noticing her. The kid is too attached." A pause. A nod. "Tomorrow she's gone." The knock at the door came just after breakfast, sharp, official. Mara was rinsing dishes, humming softly. Liam leaned against the counter, retelling a silly dream about flying pancakes. The morning felt normal, almost safe, until the man in a gray suit stepped inside. "Private Investigator Jim Hadley," he said, flipping open a badge. "I'm here regarding missing property belonging to Miss Stone." Mara blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" Vanessa emerged from the hallway, lips pressed in a performative frown. "I didn't want to believe it," she said, casting a sorrowful glance toward Mara. "But things keep disappearing." Alexander stood behind his chair, silent, watching. Hadley turned to Mara. "I'll need to check your quarters." Mara paled. "You're welcome to, but I haven't." But it was already happening. Moments later, Hadley returned, holding a small velvet pouch. "Diamond earrings. Found in your drawer." Mara gasped. No, I've never seen those in my life." Liam clung to her waist, his voice trembling. "She didn't do anything. Please don't take her." Vanessa sighed dramatically. "This is so hard for all of us." Mara looked to Alexander, eyes wide with shock and pleading. He didn't move. Instead, he reached for his notebook and wrote one line in bold, deliberate strokes. "She stays until this is resolved." Hadley hesitated. "Sir, Alexander pointed to the notebook again. The message stood. Vanessa's mouth opened, then shut. Her hands curled into fists. "You really think I would frame someone?" she asked, voice cracking with rehearsed betrayal. She approached him, laying a hand on his cheek like a stage actress. "You think someone like her wants to be here for love?" "No, Alexander. Women like her only see dollar signs." But Alexander didn't flinch. His eyes stayed steady, cool. Inside, however, his soul roared. "She thinks she's clever, spinning the same web she used in the Montgomery story." But this time he wasn't blind, and he wasn't alone. That night, he paced the balcony, notebook in hand, stars overhead and tension twisting in his gut. He flipped through the pages, days of notes, timestamps, small cruelties, Mara's compassion, Liam's resilience. Every word a stone in the foundation of truth. This silence had once felt like a cage. Now it was a weapon. He had waited long enough. He pulled out his phone and typed a single message to Vanessa. "Come to the penthouse tomorrow." Alone. He hit send, then whispered under his breath, "Lord, let what's hidden be brought to light." Then he turned to look inside, where Liam leaned against Mara's shoulder, eyes half closed, safe for now. But the storm was far from over. Vanessa stepped off the elevator with a smile so sweet it almost stuck to the walls. Her heels clicked across the penthouse floor as she spotted Alexander waiting in the living room, dressed in quiet elegance, seated with his notebook closed on his lap, his expression unreadable. "You wanted to see me alone," she said, voice soft. I knew you'd come around. She crossed to him slowly, draping her hands over his. You've always been the thoughtful one. I know it's been hard, but you're doing the right thing. He looked at her, expression blank. Sometimes, she continued, people like Mara, they just don't belong in families like ours. She leaned in, as if to kiss his cheek. He stood abruptly and motioned to the couch. Of course, she said, smoothing her skirt and sitting down. Let's talk about what's next. The room felt still. Then Mara stepped in, holding Liam's hand. Vanessa's smile faltered. What is she doing here? Alexander walked to the media console, tapped a small remote. A familiar voice filled the room. Your mother died because she couldn't handle you. Liam flinched. Vanessa's face drained of color. He's ruining everything. She's too comfortable. Tomorrow she's gone. It kept playing, audio, then grainy video. Vanessa pacing, hissing threats under her breath, sliding earrings into Mara's drawer. Turn it off, she shrieked, lunging toward the console. Mara stepped in front of her. Don't, she said, voice low, steady. Liam started crying. Make her stop. Vanessa spun, frantic now, mascara smudged with fury. This is manipulation. You planned this. You can't even speak. She turned to Alexander, voice rising. Say something. Tell them this isn't real. The room fell quiet. Alexander straightened his shoulders. Then, calmly, like a fire finding oxygen, he spoke. Don't you ever touch my son again. The silence shattered. Vanessa stumbled back, eyes wide with disbelief. You could talk. His gaze never left hers, and I heard every word. She looked from him to Mara to the weeping child she tormented. This is insane. You tricked me. Alexander stepped forward. No, I watched you. His voice carried the weight of every sleepless night, every unspoken scream, every tear Liam had cried. Vanessa's voice cracked. I loved you. He shook his head. You loved what I could give you. The air thickened, holy in its finality. And then he said it, the words that would finally end it all. Get out. She froze, lips parted, as if waiting for something else. But nothing came. No appeal. No rescue. Just truth. She turned, rage and ruin trailing behind her, and slammed the door on the way out. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was sacred. Alexander knelt beside Liam, wrapping him in his arms. I'm here, he whispered. I'm not going anywhere. Mara wiped a tear from her cheek. Neither am I. From the corner of the room, sunlight broke through the clouds. Vanessa was gone, but the echo of her words still haunted the walls of the penthouse. Since that night, Liam hadn't left Mara's side. Not for meals, not for sleep, not even when she folded laundry or watered the plant by the window. He clung to her like a lifeline, because she was... He startled easily now, jumped at the sound of raised voices on TV. His drawings turned darker, stick figures with tears, storm clouds in every sky. Alexander saw it all, and it broke him. He found Mara in the kitchen one morning, Liam tucked into her side, helping mix pancake batter with one hand. I should have stopped her sooner, Alexander said quietly. I put you at risk. Mara turned. Her face was tired, but kind. You protected your son, Alexander. A good father fights however he can. He looked at her, eyes raw with the kind of gratitude words fail to express. Still, I should have trusted you sooner. She reached out and touched his arm, not in pity, but in shared understanding. You were grieving, and sometimes grief silences us before we even know we've gone quiet. Their eyes held, and in that stillness, something deeper passed between them, not just relief, or respect, or even gratitude. Something truer. Something sacred. Later that afternoon, Liam curled up on the couch next to Mara as she read aloud from a book about brave kids and second chances. Alexander sat nearby, listening, but also watching. Watching how Liam's hand relaxed in Mara's lap. How her voice soothed things even he hadn't been able to reach. When the chapter ended, Liam looked up. "Miss Mara." "Yeah, buddy. Can you stay forever?" She blinked. Her breath caught. Alexander sat still, heart caught in the crossfire. Mara smiled softly. "Forever's a long time, Liam. But I want you to be here. Like really here." "I know," she whispered, brushing the hair from his forehead. "I want that too." Alexander looked away, his heart warm and aching. He wanted to ask the same thing, wanted to beg her to stay. But something in him, the same fear that had kept him silent, whispered that he might ruin the peace she had helped restore. That night, as Liam finally drifted to sleep in his own bed, Mara knelt beside him, pulling the blankets up gently. He stirred, eyes barely open. "Will you be here in the morning?" She leaned close, pressing a kiss to his forehead. "I'm not leaving you." From the doorway, Alexander watched, his soul stirred by something ancient and divine. This wasn't just healing. It was redemption. Spring came slowly to Los Angeles that year, not with fanfare, but with warm breakfasts and laughter echoing through the penthouse again, with fresh flowers on the table, with the sound of Liam's feet running, not away from fear, but toward joy. The air inside the home had changed. So had Alexander. His voice returned, not just in sound, but in soul. He spoke gently, intentionally, like a man who had learned the sacred weight of silence. He laughed more, cooked more, prayed more, and every prayer seemed to begin with two words: "Thank you." Mara had stayed, not just as a caregiver, but as a quiet force of healing. She never pushed, never tried to fill shoes that weren't hers. But somehow, she became the heartbeat of the home. She and Alexander grew closer, not through grand gestures, but in the dailiness of love, folding laundry together, sharing stories over coffee, watching Liam sleep, and trading soft smiles when he dreamed out loud. One evening, while Liam was building a tower of blocks taller than himself, Alexander turned to her. "I was afraid to say anything. I didn't want to lose what we had." Mara set down her tea. "Say what?" "That I care for you. Deeply. Not just because you saved Liam, or helped me through the silence, but because you saw us. You loved us when we weren't easy to love." Her eyes filled, but she smiled. "I felt it too, but I never wanted to take her place." From the hallway, Liam's voice called softly, "You won't." They turned. He stood there, clutching a drawing, crayon still in his fingers. "I heard you," he said. "You're not taking her place. You're just being here now." Mara opened her arms, and he ran to her. That night, as the sun dipped low behind the hills, Alexander led Mara to the rooftop garden. Lights twinkled above. The breeze carried the scent of jasmine and the faint sound of Liam humming downstairs. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a simple ring. "No speeches," he said softly. "Just this. I don't need you to be anything more than who you already are. We're not starting over. We're starting forward. As partners. As family." Tears spilled freely down her cheeks as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes." Later that week, Liam handed them the drawing. It was stick figures under a big yellow sun. Alexander, Mara, and Liam holding hands. The title scribbled above it in bright blue crayon. "My family." They taped it to the fridge. And for the first time in a long, long time, the silence was gone. But what it had revealed would stay with them forever. Silence didn't hide the truth. It revealed the hearts worth keeping.
If this story touched your heart, hit the like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Alexander's shoes?